The sun rises over China's sacred Wudang Mountains. This mountain range lies in China's mid-east, 1,200 kilometers south of Beijing. The Wudang Mountains are home to many Taoist monasteries that have given birth to traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts like Kung Fu and Tai Chi Chuan. These millennia-old monasteries are famous throughout China and the rest of the world, and many Chinese come to visit them. In recent years, these monasteries have again become very popular, not only with the Chinese, but also with foreign tourists. Since 1994, Wudang's monasteries have been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The towns at the foot of the Wudang Mountains are much more lively. Nonetheless, the atmosphere, even in town, seems to be conducive to meditation and martial arts. This is due to the contrast between the modern buildings and the ones built according to the traditional Chinese architecture. Many martial arts schools bring their disciples to train here, on this square. There are also many locals who are skilled in martial arts and come here to train alone or just to do a few exercises. The Wudang region is the cradle of internal martial arts. They are so considered because they are based on the development of inner energy and have a strong symbolic aspect. This is what makes them different from the Shaolin styles of martial art, which are considered external. Wudang has many different Kung Fu schools of varying sizes. Some pupils only come here for a few weeks to learn the basics of Tai Chi or Kung Fu. In Wudang's highlands, there are many martial arts schools and also masters. Usually, the pupils stay for a few weeks before heading back to the town. However, many pupils stay for a lot longer in order to learn and completely master Tai Chi. Tai Chi is not only a healthy physical exercise, but also a Taoist-inspired martial art with a strong spiritual element. Tai Chi's movements are designed to sharpen the body's vital energy. Tai Chi is thought to have been invented by Taoist warriors and monk doctors. Yang is the most popular style. It was created by Yang Luchan in the 18th century. Yang Luchan modified Tai Chi's original template to make it more accessible. The style's characteristic slow and relaxed movements are reminiscent of yoga exercises. Tai Chi can be practiced unarmed as well as with a range of weapons including the sword, the saber or the stick. The ruler was also used, but over the years it's been left behind. Recently, more and more weapons are being used, including the spear, daggers, the scythe and the fan. Every weapon has its own sequence of movements which must be mastered. The sword, for example, has a certain number of different forms of attack and defense. Tai Chi's movements also have a martial purpose. Tai Chi is sometimes known as shadow boxing, as the boxer seems to be fighting against an opponent who isn't there. Tai Chi training sessions involve learning the different movements and how to handle the weapons, but also limbering up exercises. People who come to train here in the mountains of Wudang are given food and accommodation. The spiritual nature of this place is thought to help the martial artists progress. With fewer distractions, the youngsters can concentrate fully on their training and meditation. In days gone by, many of Mount Wudang's monasteries were all but inaccessible. The Wudang Mountains lie between two big towns, Xi'an to the southeast and Wuhan to the north. Generally, tourists head to Wuhan and then take a train or bus to the mountains, where buses and cable cars are provided. Nevertheless, it still takes a full day to reach the mountains. In the old days, thousands of pilgrims came to worship at Wudang's monasteries. Little by little, the Chinese are starting to rediscover these temples. In the succeeding years and dynasties, palaces, monasteries and temples have been built on these mountain peaks. Many monks still live in the monasteries because the location is conducive to meditation. Tai Chi is a martial art, but also a way of life which teaches man to live in harmony with nature. The monks are easily identifiable thanks to their long hair, which is tied up on top of their head in a bun fastened with a wooden peg. The majority of the buildings were built during the reign of the Emperor Di, who is famous for being the founder of Beijing's Forbidden City. He wanted all palaces and monasteries to be in perfect osmosis with nature. All over China, and especially in Wudang, he had palaces, monasteries, convents and temples built. The different buildings on Mount Wudang are testimony to the apotheosis of the Chinese art and architecture of the period and the establishment of Taoism in China. The dragon is one of the most emblematic creatures of Chinese and indeed Asian culture. It generally appears on all buildings. Dragons are part of the fundamental mythology of Chinese culture. The dragon was used as a symbol by almost all the dynastic Chinese emperors. Today, a great many martial arts films are shot in the Wudang Mountains. Their scenery provides a perfect backdrop for such films. It also helps to publicize these magnificent ancient sites, which are also destinations of pilgrimage for the Chinese, and more generally Taoists and those who practice martial arts. Strikes in Tai Chi are only effective if the combatants channel their energy, or chakra. Releasing this energy creates a shock wave. So Tai Chi has an important spiritual dimension because it's vital to forge a link between man and nature's natural energy reserves. Wudang's mountains are full of monkeys. The monkey is the 9th animal represented in the Chinese zodiac, and the number 9 is supposed to bring good fortune. Tea is a Chinese invention, and far from the big city's pollution, Mount Wudang is full of both wild and cultivated tea. China produces the world's greatest range of tea varieties. Legend has it that 2,700 years ago, an emperor was roaming the country searching for all manner of plants with medicinal properties. One day he was severely poisoned, and whilst he was boiling some water beneath a tree, a gust of wind dropped a few leaves into his kettle. The drink then acted as an antidote and stimulant. Nowadays, tea is not only used in Chinese medicine, but also as a stimulant and as an everyday drink. China's teas are very famous and have a very important place in Chinese culture. Although they produce many different varieties of tea, such as yellow or black, the Chinese mostly drink green tea. The martial art of Kung Fu was born in the 3rd millennium BC. A few centuries later, a physician developed the movements designed to relax the spirit and fortify the body. Many other people influenced Kung Fu over the centuries. Most Kung Fu training sessions take place in small groups. Unlike most Western sports clubs, Wudang's masters decide whether or not they want to take on a student. Traditionally, the great masters take on very few pupils, so that the art's heritage may be passed on without giving away Kung Fu's secrets to all and sundry. Today, there are over 400 different documented styles of Kung Fu, both with and without weapons. Although different styles may share similar techniques, Kung Fu can take many different forms depending on whether the master comes from the north, south, east, or west of China. Psychology is an important part of Kung Fu. This is why meditation sessions go hand in hand with physical training. These are both important, so that the mind as well as the body becomes strong. Kung Fu and Tai Chi are both martial arts developed mainly by warriors and physician monks. The influence of Taoism also helped to develop the art of Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is built on maintaining the balance of the inner energy called qi. Chinese traditional medicine is made up of a number of disciplines, including acupuncture and traditional Chinese massage, but also Chinese herbal medicine. Chinese medicine has been a huge influence on medicine throughout the world. Many texts on Chinese medicine have been translated into the principal Western languages. Chinese herbal medicine, or phytotherapy, is based on the use of plant extracts and combinations of medicinal herbs. Phytotherapy is one of the most important elements of Chinese medicine. Doctors will select the right blend of ingredients to make a remedy according to the yin and yang of the patient. Phytotherapy, or Chinese herbology, uses ingredients made from every part of the plant, be it leaves, branches, or roots. But other ingredients are animal or mineral-based. The Western world's first contacts with Chinese medicine, and more specifically acupuncture, can be traced back to the 16th century. But it was in the second half of the 20th century that Chinese medicine really became established in the West. Nowadays, acupuncture has an increasingly important role to play in Western healthcare. The Wudang Mountains, home to many monasteries, are considered a high place of Taoism. Stone paths link the various monasteries and palaces of the Wudang Mountains. Some Taoists take these paths as a kind of pilgrimage and go to meditate in all the monasteries found along the way. Some temples are better known than others, often because kung fu films have been shot there. This dragon is a symbol of the temple and also of good luck. Make a wish while throwing a coin, and if the coin lands on the dragon's head, the wish will come true. According to Kung Fu masters, the energy around us influences one's inner energy and therefore one's mastery of Kung Fu. Working within the confines of a temple courtyard has a positive influence on one's inner energy and helps one progress. Like many other Chinese martial arts, Kung Fu teaches the use of a variety of weapons, including sabers, lances, swords, halberds, axes, and sticks. The saber is a very popular traditional Chinese weapon. The size and shape of the saber can vary, and subsequently the techniques for using it too. But over the years, Kung Fu masters developed techniques for using everyday objects, like the fans used by nobles or the oars used by fishermen. The majority of Wudang's inhabitants live in the foothills. Only a handful of monks or a few masters and their pupils live in the mountains. The atmosphere in the town is quite different. There are markets in the little alleyways, the familiar traffic congestion, crowded restaurants, and of course, urban pollution. There's a striking contrast between the peace that reigns in the mountains and the hustle and bustle of the town. The town's restaurants are outnumbered by its plethora of street food stalls. Street food is an institution in China and throughout Asia. One of the town's most entertaining spectacles is watching popcorn being made. A small amount of corn kernels is heated up in a vessel similar to a pressure cooker. And when it's ready, the whole lot is shot into a bag. Families come to the town square to spend some time together. The square is like the beating heart of the city where everyone can meet up. Kids can play and meet their friends while their parents relax or have a picnic. Local inhabitants mingle with those pupils from the martial arts schools who've chosen to live in the town rather than in the mountains. Thanks to the great number of Kung Fu schools established in the town, it's easier for youngsters to get into Kung Fu without having to trek up and down the Wudang Mountains to get to training. At this age, rather than fighting moves or weapons handling, the apprentices are taught the stretching and limbering exercises necessary for learning Kung Fu's movements. Pupils start at a very young age in order to develop a supple body, as this is the stage of their life where the body develops most. Mastering certain figures requires great flexibility, especially when being able to do the splits is one of the integral aesthetic aspects of Kung Fu's acrobatic demonstrations. Children this age, with their restless spirit, are unable to concentrate on meditation, so their focus is on stretching and limbering up and learning some of the basic combat moves. Some of the older pupils can start learning how to use weapons. But before they're allowed to learn to use the saber or the lance, they have to learn how to use the stick. The town is full of life, both day and night. Shops and street vendors stay open late into the night to cater for the tourists who are visiting the region. The town has very little in the way of entertainment like cinemas or discos. However, the locals like to come and dance the night away in the town square. Despite its rapid development and modernization, China has successfully preserved a large part of its cultural heritage, notably its martial arts, including Tai Chi and Kung Fu. The Wudang region has found a happy medium between modernism and a tradition inextricably linked to its ancient internal martial arts.